recently, but how does Croatia? How did you get there?
I guess let me say this first. You're similar to me because as soon as I get on with a host, I'm just chatting. And then it's like, oh, we're rolling already.
Yeah, and then all the good bits. And I'm like, no. And then I got told off, like, Kassandra, next week your podcast, you have to start doing it. Because if you don't do it, anyway, and you can use it as a 1 minute. I have a cat and he needs to go outside. 1 second.
Okay, no worries.
See, best to do that now than he bothers me in the middle of the podcast. Yeah, so yes, how did you, Croatia, how did that? I know that I heard in the podcast, God gave you a calling, but why Croatia? Did you go and God just told you Croatia?
It was, a matter of God telling me go to Croatia. And now, as I stand here today, it was absolutely vital for me to come to Croatia. I would never have discovered my God-given purpose had I not come in here. And well, part of that is because I had to meet specific people here in Croatia. And one of them, this was over the summer, I was going to a cafe it's a little bit off of the beaten path. And as I went to go outside and have myself a nice little tea and enjoy the outdoors, I walked past this gentleman. He's working on the computer. And I greet him as I normally do whenever I see people. And so he tells me, let me finish what I'm working on and I'll come chat with you. And so we start chatting, and eventually he becomes one of my consultants. And it was him who gave me the last key that I needed in order to unlock the last box to discover my purpose. And to the point where I can say, one of my God-given purposes is to help you look more attractive. Not the person on the outside, though, the person on the inside, the real you, your character. And I am absolutely grateful for this journey. It was an unreal journey just to get there. And so I'm just officially getting started as of January of this year in regards to actually knowing my purpose and walking in it.
Wow. All right. I'm writing down purpose. Definitely going to talk about that. That's great. Yeah, because it's so important, and sometimes you can lose track of it. So I'm so glad that you found it, and you're on that path, and you're not getting there. So I just thought I usually sorry.
Quick question. Why do you say sometimes you can lose track of?
When I say sometimes, I'm talking about myself. I'm asking for a friend. Sometimes even though you can't see, like I've got all my vision board, my vision statement, my mission statement, what I'm going to do each quarter. For me, you know what, let's just be part of the podcast because whatever. But for me, I think I need to go on a social media cleanse, because I say this is because even though I see right there the clarity of what I'm supposed to be doing and my purpose and my vision, like today I look on people's social media, I'm like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
And what do you mean by that? Like you look at some people and you see that they've reached a certain level and you're like, oh, I feel as if I should be there. Okay.
Not like the entitled, no, it's kind of, if I'm being honest, it could be quite entitlement, but it's not like I hate and like, hey, I wish you wasn't there. That should have been me. It's like, I like to come up, bigger. And then I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? And then I have to stop myself and like, everyone's on their different journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what paths and decisions and people who they know to get to their path. And I keep on saying to myself, so long as that I produce good work, and I put it out there, the people will come. That's what I try to say to myself. So I don't know if you agree or not agree or.
So I will hit on one point, and this is why I advise people to steer clear of social media. Although at some point I will direct people towards my Instagram, but I explain why I say that is because using the internet, especially social platforms, your mind needs to be prepared because you're entering into a battlefield. And the reason why I say that is because our opponent in this game called life, he's going to use things in order to cause you despair and cause you distress and cause you to feel hopeless, right? And one of the things that he uses, and especially with women, social media, because when you look at someone else's profile, when you look at someone else's life that they're presenting on social media, then our enemy in this game called life, he starts to fill the head with thoughts and like, oh, you're not there yet. Oh, you're doing something wrong. And, or you're completely on the wrong path. Look at them. They're doing so much better than you. And so he'll feed a person thoughts like that and then come back and fan the flames. And so this is one of the reasons why I advise, especially young women, to avoid social media as much as possible until you get the right mindset, until you know the tools and the fundamentals in order to combat the head games that our opponent in this game called life plays. And well, once you get to that point, then you're most likely not going to want social media anyways, unless, yeah. And so it's an important thing. Like I was talking with a gentleman the other day, and he was talking about, so he is conservative leaning in the States. And so he said something about, yeah, I go on Twitter and I post something with conservative views, and then all of a sudden I get all sorts of hate. And I told him similar thing. Don't go on Twitter. You are literally entering into a battlefield, because in order to communicate with people who are in opposition to you or in opposition to your values, you have to have gone through some serious training, communication training, in order to be able to handle that, and for it to not affect you to the point where now you're lashing out at people. Yeah.
Understood. So since we started the podcast very informally, hello. Nice to meet
Greetings,
you.
greetings.
I hope you're okay. You see, we just got to roll with it. This is life. Everything has to be too structured. So usually when I start the podcast, I'll be like, hey, my name is Kassandra Lauren Gordon. I am the host of the Black Creative Handbook. And then I'll say, I'm here with, I bet you say your name.
Emmanuel Enime. Emmanuel Enime.
Great. So we've done intros. I think we're past the intro bit. And then I'll ask them to just introduce yourself in a couple of sentences. So how would you introduce yourself to the BCH community, the world?
So I'm Emmanuel, the character coach, and My God-given purpose is to help you defend your joy.
Wow, that is powerful. So naturally, I'm going to ask you, what is defending your joy? It feels like I'm in Games of Thrones and I've got a little sword and I'm going to get dragon. That's how powerful it was. What you just said, defend your joy. Oh my God, I feel like I'm going to have an existential crisis talking to you now. I feel like we're doing one-on-one mentoring, and please don't charge me. Yeah. So please, I'm going to ask you a question. I feel like we're going to get deep. This is deep. I don't know. Lucky thing I haven't drunk no alcohol today. So great. Okay, I'm ready for it. Defending. I've got my shield. I've got my what you call it? Armor.
You got your armor. Yeah.
Carry on, please.
You got your ice cream in one hand.
I'm not sure about the ice cream. I'm not there yet.
And so I'll speak in a parable, and this is maybe the best way a person can understand. So joy is eternal. And when one thinks about their joy, they should think of it in this way, that it has the potential to be a snowball that just continues to pick up momentum as one goes through life, to pick up more and more and more momentum. And so this snowball starts out small at the top of an eternal mountain. There is a thin strip of snow that a person must stay on in order to defend their joy. So your joy being the snow. And so it's a person must stay on this path. And if you veer off to the right or to the left, there are rocks to the right or to the left. And so those things are things that we will inevitably encounter in life: the difficulties, the setbacks, the misdirections and the misguidance, the temptations that we fall for. All of these things are joy stealers and serve to divert a person from their God-given mission. And so you were speaking of your vision board. That's an important thing or I'll put it this way, it's important for a person to know where they are going. So know, hey, that point there is my end goal. And so now this makes the person more effective in their daily walk. And so it's like, well, I'm not going to spend 3 hours watching reels on Instagram because I don't have that time. I need to get to this end goal. And so it's important for people to write some things out. And as you're writing, so there's the end goal that you want to get to, but most of the steps to get there, you don't know. And so that's the beautiful thing of the journey as well, is you have that end game that you're aiming towards, and you go on an adventure to literally get there. And it's important to get help along the way. It's important to get advice along the way. But getting advice is also a bit of a war game, because sometimes you're going to run into people who you need to talk to, who are going to be in opposition to some of the things that you present. And so it's important to be able to remain calm and receptive, although you're talking to someone who might be in opposition to what you're doing. In my experience, I've always learned something from someone who was in opposition to something that I was saying or something that I was doing. And so all of these, or excuse me, to be able to communicate with someone in such a way, there are actual steps that a person can do, and there's actual practice and things that a person can employ in order to be able to have some tough conversations as you're trying to get to your God-given mission.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. We
Well,
just
let me
met.
add,
There's a lot to unpack there. So let me see if I can.
let me add more to the suitcase.
Okay.
No, you go ahead. There's
Okay,
more. There's a lot more.
So what I think I've heard, if I interpreted, is like with your first parable, or the metaphor of this snowball, of making sure that your snowball has enough momentum, and that symbolizes your joy. So no matter what happened with this snowball, don't let no skiers, no rocks, no one come. And if you have your vision, your purpose, that you shouldn't be steering off. Well, you could, like a plane. Sometimes, the plane's not always really straight, right? Sometimes the pilot has to autocorrect sometimes. You just have to autocorrect sometimes, but you know your path, you know where you're going. If you go in Florida, we know you go in Florida. Might not know the you don't
Exact route.
Yeah, you don't know the exact route, but you're going to Florida or somewhere like that. And it just seems like, when I'm just looking at your notes, it's just like purpose is so important, and feeling that conviction in that purpose, not let nothing steer your way. And then you say something about advice, what I'm going to come to. Me personally, maybe it's the way I was brought up. I always knew I had vision. I always thought I was a visionary. I know it sounds a bit whatever, but a visionary. And I always, when people say, "Oh, you can't do it," I always find a way. I always fill in that gap. But at times, when I'm unsure or I don't have that, I might ask people questions, and I shouldn't. I should have stuck with my gut. And what happens when I ask people, "Oh, what do you think about this, Emmanuel? Should I do this? Should I not?" Because when I ask someone, should I do that? They're gonna say no. So I need to practice. It's a skill. It doesn't come as naturally to you, but it comes to me. I have to practice, like, trust your gut. You're gonna figure it out. Stay with that snowball. Get that momentum. Stop stopping it. Because you stop the snowball, it's not gonna be a snowball. It's gonna be full of, I don't know, droplets, mashed up, whatever.
I mean, yeah, a person essentially loses some of their joy, or
there you go,
just completely goes off course.
So help me with my armor. I've got my sword or my Sharpie right now. Help me defend my joy, my life, my purpose. Just do it in a minute. Like, no pressure. Like, how are you gonna sort my life out?
So for me, it comes to a complete reliance on Jesus Christ.
Okay, I hear you.
And so, like, for example, forgiveness. That is not something a human being can handle on their own, because we are revenge seeking.
Oops. Oh God.
And so, for example, so I am Central European time, and a couple of times people that I had podcasts with or pre-interviews scheduled with, I had to schedule them early in the morning because they're in the States, or they're maybe, I think it was India as well. And so sometimes that's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning. And mind you, I'm normally getting up somewhere around 5 or 6 o'clock a.m. in the morning. And so there have been some times where the person was a no-show. And like this this past morning, I think, what was it? Well, one of them was basically late, and all right, I think that's the best way I'll put it. And one was no show, and then I forgot what happened with the other one. And so I was up until like 2 a.m. and then I got up again around about 5:20 a.m. So a few hours of sleep. In such a situation, the old me would have had unforgiveness towards them. It's like, oh, hey, this person disrespected me by not respecting my schedule. And then they could have told me and I would have been able to get more sleep, yada, yada, yada. The anger snowball could just have kept growing and growing. But I laugh and I say this, I would be a fool to hold that against them. One, I don't know exactly what happened with them. All three of them could have easily run into some real difficult times in life. Number two, because God has forgiven me, I have to pay that forward. And so with that said, if I don't forgive others for whatever it is they do, then it's inevitable that I will enter into the revenge cycle. And so the revenge cycle goes like this. It's somebody does something to a person, and that person then feels a little bit of shame or disrespected. Then they get a seed of anger planted into the mind. That anger grows, gains momentum, and then the person seeks vengeance. And vengeance is one of those things, revenge. It keeps feeding itself. It keeps feeding itself. And matter of fact, there's one gentleman from the UK. His name is James Fairweather. I don't know if you've heard of him, but so I listened to his story, and he's a good example of how it is the revenge cycle plays out. People picked on him in school, made fun of his ears. Anger grew inside of him. He took out his revenge on the world. And so he ended up stabbing two strangers to him to death. And so it's when it comes down to defending your joy, you have to, for me, or let me not say for me, for everybody, you have to forgive, because if you don't forgive, what's going to happen is this: anger is going to grow inside of you, some sort of bitterness, some sort of despair or hopelessness will grow inside of a person. And well, as those things grow, joy and love start to diminish.
Okay, I hear that. So practically, okay, so I know that you're talking from a very faith-based perspective, which I respect. Just in case people, I'm not saying to dilute your message, I'm not saying to change your message. What I'm inviting you to probably think about is if someone maybe is not from that faith, is there not another way, how do I say, because a lot of personal development does come from Christianity and stuff, and sometimes people just regurgitate it and package it something different. So I'm very, very respectful of that. What I'm trying to say is, let me try to tell it to a creative, someone who's probably a bit more sensitive to the world, expresses themselves in probably a different way, and they're on the come up. And people have been, just like how you say with the podcast, someone don't turn up, they don't do things, they don't respect their time, don't pay on time, mess this independent creative up, and they're on the come up. What practical advice, apart from unforgiveness, to forgive, what else can they do to defend their joy and stay true to their purpose?
So other things that a person can do is to have or I should say, this is the most important thing that a person should just have in general in life, is this mindset. I am going to have joy during the difficult times in life, because, and I'll speak in another parable, in this game called life, there is tragedy and difficulty built into the game. No one will escape it. Difficulty is built into the game. And so, with that said, the wisest thing to do is, well, prepare myself, my mindset, my character for the difficult times. And we were talking about the vision board earlier. And so, having an end goal that you're aiming towards, and that end goal is having that mindset. I'm going to have joy in the difficult times. And this makes a person much more efficient, much more effective in their daily walk. And so, additional, I guess, practical things that people can do is people could write, journal. These are things that can help a person clear up frustrations and maybe resolve something that's been bothering them. And one thing I discovered for myself is I had to incorporate, well, I'll call it the name that I give it, street journaling. And so
Okay.
basically, there's something that I'm trying to work out. So I've written about it, and I have a premise. And so I have the premise, but now I need to see if it makes sense to other people. And so I'm trying to think of a quick example. I'll just I'll just give a silly example. All cats are good cats. So in my journaling, I've come to that point. So it's like, yeah, I feel like that's a very important thing. And so now let me take it to the street and discuss with people, with strangers on the street, and see if they can understand this issue and see if they can help add anything to it. Or most importantly, does it make sense to them? Does it make sense to a stranger? And so in this process of street journaling, I've been doing this often, where I have an idea and I'm like, okay, it makes sense to me, but now let me go apply it on the street and see. Especially, I'm specifically trying to see if strangers understand me, and ideally people whose first language is not English. And so, because if I can get them to understand me, then then it's a clear point.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is this you're doing this type of, when you wrote your idea or that creative expressing themselves in a certain way, whatever medium, and what you call street journaling, you are sense checking with people. You are quality assuring that you're communicating what you're intending to communicate. Am I here?
I would say that, yeah, and you used a good word there, quality assuring. So
Yeah.
essentially, like, is this idea quality, or not? And if not, well, what areas could I improve about it?
Yeah, adjust
And
if you need to. Yeah.
right. And that is the main reason why I was able to discover my purpose, because I'm like going to the drawing board and then going to the street and back and forth until I finally came to that point.
By gently probably not challenge, but gently just asking you then. So you go with this, you're asking people, but are these trusted people? Because remember what I said to you earlier is like, when I sometimes ask people, and I'm learning to ask I'm learning to trust which people to go to. Are they your trusted people? You go and you do your street journaling and you express yourself to.
So this is, there are times where I need to go to a trusted and specific advisor for certain things. There are times that I need to do that. But there are times where that I've seen I should not do that, because I am aiming to be understood by people who don't normally communicate with me. So people who normally communicate with me, they understand some nuances and things that I say. And so the speech doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly understood for them to understand me. And so I don't want that bias. I want to avoid that bias for certain things. And so I have to use both of these people. So complete strangers and very trusted and knowledgeable advisors in all of my planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. So going back to you being the character coach, helping people up, that's I'm interpreting, helping people's characters to the nth degree. And I think you've covered a lot about purpose, defending joy and stuff. But how do you work with someone who is very, I don't know, very creative one-on-one to look at their character? Because sometimes I think on the internet, I'm going left field, and please, it just came to my mind.
I'm gonna try and stay with you.
I'm gonna go left field. I'm probably gonna go off that snowball, and but when some people say something on social media, I know we talked about social media, or someone says something and like, oh, you're insulting my character. I would never say that. That's not what I mean. Are you talking about that character, like, not getting sued for defamation? Or are you talking about that person's inner being and that moral compass? What are you talking about when you mean that you're a character coach and how you help with people's character?
So, yeah, the inner being, that moral compass. And so the inner being that would have the mindset of, okay, I'm going to take care of my kids, or that inner being that would have the mindset of, well, I'm going to have another drink, or the inner being that would have the mindset of, you know what, times are super difficult right now. My mom just passed away, but I got to keep going. And so it's that inner being that essentially is driving the human being or causing the human being to stall out as they walk through life. And it's the best thing that I can communicate to people in regards to character is just that mindset that I pointed out, is that's where you want to get to. And the exact specific definition at this point, I think I could use the word mute. And so, because the point that I want a person to get to is, I'm going to have joy in the difficult times. And it's totally possible. And there are two women from the UK, Amy Carmichael and Gladys Aylward. People can go look at their story, their life story, whether they buy a book or they watch a video on YouTube, a documentary of their life. And when you look at these women's lives, it's still inspiring to this day. And this is an example of how their joy is eternal. Like the things that they did back then, I still feel it and still feel encouraged today. Like the amount of courage that was in Gladys Aylward. So she left the UK on her own. She wasn't part of a mission group. And she went there to China. And after working in the village where she did meet one missionary at, there came a point where there was a riot in the men's prison, or let me back up. There was a prisoner who had gotten an axe and he had killed a couple of people in the prison, and the guards didn't know what to do with him. They called her. The woman is like 5 foot tall. They called her to go into the men's prison and to sort out the situation. She goes into the men's prison, walks up to the guy with the axe and says, "Give that to me." And so that courage, that is so motivational, so powerful, that she was able to do that. And so with that said, this is why I tell people it is absolutely possible for you to get to that point where you have joy during the difficult times. You have peace of mind during the difficult times. You have courage during the difficult times. You are persistent and patient during the difficult times.
Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. I was the last two. I don't know about that for me. So I'm just no. I feel like I'm just talking about me, but it's like that. I think I can be resilient, but not always persistent. I'm like, oh. The reason why I say this is
I'm not saying don't rest though, because rest is part of it.
Rest. Okay, cool. I hear you. The reason why I say this is when you're saying about, or when you say character coach, what I'm hearing is about this discipline. Do you think am I interpreting wrong? Like you're helping with people's discipline, doing things, whether it's sunny or raining. It's keeping on that steady road. That is we're going to Florida. I remember saying ages ago, I don't know why I said Florida, full of the lovely alligators coming to eat me. But we're going to Florida, right? We don't know how we're going to get there. We don't know if we're going to swim, take plane. We don't know how to get there. We come from mainland Europe, but we're going to Florida. So how do I be disciplined even though I'm swimming with the sharks? How do you help people when you're swimming with the sharks? I don't want to get eaten. I'm not getting eaten. I've got that mindset. I'm going to pass Cuba. I'm going to eat some stuff, and I'm still going to go to Miami, and then I'm going to go to Florida. How do I practically?
So no worries. So it does involve actual training exercises. And so in order to help a person get victory over limiting beliefs, get victory over things that are holding them back. And for example, one of the character training exercises that I will offer in the future is singing in public.
Wow.
And so being a coach, first, it's important for me to understand the fundamentals and for me to have gone through the experience to find out the things that will limit a person, to find out the things that will go through a person's mind as they're going through a certain exercise, and then get my players, make sure they understand fundamentals as best as possible, then put them in the actual game and say, okay, we're going to sing in public today, and you're going to try and sing at the top of your lungs.
Where?
And
just like that.
So I usually do it in the main square here in Zagreb. I'd say I'm there about every other Sunday, and it's my spreading joy day on Sunday. So I'll greet people, say hello, have a good day.
In English or Croatian?
So a mixture of both. So I'll tell them that I strive to say things in Croatian. I know a little bit, and I'm learning more and more. But I strive to say things like have a good day, or enjoy your day, or good day, good morning, good evening in Croatian. And so in regards to the singing part, I sing songs, at least right now, in English. And so there's baby shark, it's necessary, and I'll explain in a second. And then if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. The wheels on the bus go round and round. And so as I went through this character training exercise, because this was in Germany, God told me to go to, I was in Munich, go to that main square and sing at a very high volume. And so I had to push through those worries and those fears, and I sang. And one thing that is extremely important is God gave me the wisdom on some of the reasons for that exercise. One of them, very important, popped up. People make decisions in this life oftentimes because they're worried about the opinions of other people. And so, I mean, this could go to the point of marrying in haste or marrying the wrong person. So, for example, young lady getting that pressure from her community, or all of her friends are getting married and some of them are having kids. And maybe she gets that occasional slight from her friend, makes a joke. And so her mind, she gets that seed of worry that starts to grow, or potentially can grow in her mind. And so she's like, well, I don't want to feel uncomfortable around my friends. I don't want them to make jokes about me. And so her emotional systems begin to override her logical systems. And she ends up in a situation where she's with the man who normally she would have caught the red flags, but because she was worried about the opinions of other people, she acted in haste and ended up marrying the wrong person. And so this happens to people all of the time, not just marriage, the car they bought, the house they bought, the people they hang around, the people they don't hang around.
That's important. Network is so important.
And so it's like, oh, well, I don't want to hang around that person because they make me look a little bit less cool. And it's like, yeah, they're a good person. They're a friend from my younger years, but now that I'm looking cool, I don't want to hang around them. And it's like, that person's good for you in some situations. But I'm just giving an example of how it is that worry about the opinions of other people affects people's decisions. So with that said, this is why it's a good training exercise to say, okay, get out there, have a little fun. And yeah, you see it, people can do it. I'll say it this way, you're most likely not going to die because you sang in public. And so that's one of the things that happens, is because a person gets that internal feeling of like, oh my goodness, like I cannot do this. I would rather go hide under a park bench. But it's like, you can get to that point. And it's also important to get to that point because you gotta overcome the worry about the opinions of other people.
I need training. I need resilience training. Yeah, you need to do that, isn't it? It's like going to the gym, isn't it? You need to have that character, discipline, and resilient training.
Well, yeah, you hit it on the head there. Yeah, it's like going to the gym. But there's also something to factor in. Our muscles are complex. They have the long endurance fibers, the strength and the short burst fibers. And then you have different parts like your pec muscle. You have, I can't remember the exact names, but you have the top part, middle, and the lower. And then also you have the pec minor. And so a person can comprehensively develop their courage to where they, and then that repetition. And so developing courage, developing patience, developing humility. That's a big one, because that gets everybody. It's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to ask for help. Ooh, that'll get anybody.
Okay.
And yeah.
So I feel like you gave me a lot of knowledge, so much about character, about keeping true to your purpose, your vision. Talk about unforgiveness and the revenge cycle. Talked about singing in public as one of the training methods of getting over your fear and not worrying what people are thinking, and overriding those fear mechanisms or those physiological things, which you might say, no, I don't want to do it. And I think, wow, those are so powerful ways. But before we go, I'm interested to know about you, because you seem you're well traveled. You just come to Croatia, and you just said go to Germany. You're just going off everywhere. And what were you doing? Were you in the army? How did you just travel? And what did you do before you became this character coach?
There are some things that I cannot tell you.
Oh, okay. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know. Come for me. So, okay.
No worries. There are some things that, I cannot say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But you are there. So you're a mystery. Okay, cool. So I can detect American accent. I know that you're in Croatia, or you might not be.
Yeah, I'm from the States. Yeah, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
Yes,
never been to Louisiana, but I know where it is roughly.
Yeah.
Great.
Your mind is set on Florida. That's why.
I don't know why I think of Florida. I think my friend who lives in Florida, I always joke with her about the alligators, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Louisiana. I always want to go to New Orleans. It's in Louisiana, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. My geography of American culture. Lil Wayne is from Louisiana, isn't he?
Correct. Yeah, he's from New Orleans. What are you like a trivia master or something?
No. Okay, because I'm English or British, so I always try to figure out where in America people are like.
Okay.
So I just try to okay, where's North Carolina? Where's it? So it just fascinates me. Maybe you I live in the country, I don't care, but I'm always trying to just figure out where things are than just saying, oh, LA and New York. And so I know that America is bigger than that. And also I've traveled in America when I was a teenager, a little tiny bit. So so I'm always fascinated just to know where people are, and also I tell people that big professional wrestler fan, or used to be. So all of the wrestlers, when they used to come out in the entrance, used to say where they reside or where they're from. And I was trying to figure out a wrestler actually who's come from Louisiana, and I can't think of one.
Okay. Yeah, I can't think of one either. Where are you from in the UK?
That's a complex story. So I don't know if you know the geography of the UK, but you're close. So I was born in this place called Stoke-on-Trent. It's called it's the world of ceramics. So the potteries.
Okay.
All right. So that's a bit up north, right, in England. And then I was born and then I moved to Birmingham, which is the second city. So the second biggest city in the UK or in England. It's called Birmingham. But now I live in London, which is the capital.
Okay.
So I've lived in London for about 12 years. Most of my adult life is in London. So here I am.
How do you like living in London? How are
It's a
things?
love and hate relationship. I like it. I don't like the prices of London. It's expensive. I don't like the prices. But
Okay.
I like the people. I like it's multicultural. Well, it depends. Multicultural. People are slightly more open-minded. You don't get bored here. Like, I
Okay.
don't like
So
the. I can tell what I don't like sometimes the air pollution, but I love the parks. There's always something. There's always like two sides of a coin, isn't it? And I'm just learning, especially with lockdown, having a lot of time to think. It's like you choose your life. You choose the good and the bad. You choose your hard, right? So that's what I'm choosing. So I can't really say much about it. But London is good.
well, I mean that's a good thing to make sure you, or I'll speak for myself and my own experiences. Going into nature, going to parks, and you speak of creativity, that's important. And every time I go into my break week, so for about the past year and a half, I work 6 weeks, the seventh week off. Work 6 weeks, the seventh week off. And every time I go into my break week, I strive to go to some sort of park or eat or watch some sort of a film on YouTube or video on YouTube that's showing me videos of nature, or I try and go into nature. And it's so far, it's done me good. And had I not done, or I'll say this, both of them, had I not taken breaks in every seventh week, and had I not gone into nature to kind of better quiet the mind and to influence some creativity, I would not have discovered my purpose.
Mm.
Yeah. And so I'll say this, before a big decision, to anyone who's listening, try it. Go walk in the park. Maybe you'll get a good idea that'll help you um, better wrestle with that big decision. Yeah.
Understood. So as we come to the end, is there anything what I should have asked you, anything what you wanted to say which I didn't bring to light?
I think we've hit on enough things.
I've got to
There's a lot.
reevaluate my character. Yeah, that's what I know.
There's a lot more information, and so that is one of the reasons why I do use my Instagram, is to put this information out there, to let people know, hey, there are fundamentals and tools that you can utilize, and you should utilize, and I've utilized, to play this game called life, and to get closer and closer to, what is it, absolute victory. And it's possible that you yourself could have that courage where you walk into a men's prison and say, give me that axe. So,
That lady's a better person than me. I need like advanced super training, super saiyan training for that. Okay. So how can we find this training? How can we find this super saiyan stuff so I can go into Chinese prisons and sort out some
and sort some stuff out.
Yeah.
Pass out cookies and ice cream. You see, you got your ice cream now. So people can find me on Instagram, and it is at Emmanuel Enime, all one word. Should I spell it, or will you put it in the
I
show?
will put it out in the show notes, and in edits, it will have, hopefully you'll see your name, and your Instagram will be on the screen if you're watching. And if you are listening audio, it should be in the show notes. So connect with him.
I would say the most ideal thing, and what I would prefer, is for people to move to Croatia.
What? Excuse me? How do you just end on that? Excuse me? What?
I mean, well, truthfully, yeah, that's the most ideal thing, because then this way I can officially connect with the person. Yeah, and to find out more. As of right now, I'm just putting out the wisdom and the understanding of some of these fundamentals. Right now, I'm focused on unforgiveness, and then also the head games that our opponent plays in this life. And so, yeah, the more ideal thing, but it's okay. I know my end goal, so we'll figure out a way.
Figure out the way. You put it out there. You figure out the route on the way there. No, that's perfect. Thank you, Emmanuel. I really appreciate you just going with the flow for this podcast. I really do, for this creative journey, what we're both going through, and being the character coach. So thank you. This is the Black Creative Handbook with your host, Kassandra. Speak soon.